Hey, thanks for joining me on today's episode of Entrepreneur Encounters. In today's interview, I talk with Thaime Nanez, born in Venezuela and founder of Chucho's Red Tacos. Jaime is an amazing person and has a great story. In fact, her entrepreneurial journey started when she was a kid watching her parents. Let's listen to what she picked up.
I believe my journey started really young. My dad is an entrepreneur. He's always been an entrepreneur. It's like just seeing him. Well, my mom was a professional working in the corporate environment, and my dad had his own business. And I remember as 8 years old, I always try and find something to make money off of. And I found that really fun.
I love that. For Thaime, her experience was fun. So many entrepreneurs, this is a common theme that binds a lot of us. We're doing what is fun for us. We're doing what we're put on this earth to do. We get joy out of doing it. And I think that's super necessary because if you're not getting joy out of what you're doing as an entrepreneur, it's going to be a significant challenge for us because this is a spot we're going to be putting in time, we're going to be putting in energy. And if it's not fun, then we're just going to get to this burnout. When you're in your zone, when you're doing your best thing, is it fun for you? Do you enjoy it? Are you getting joy from it? If you can say yes to those questions, then I want to encourage you to keep going. Now, let's talk about some things that are not fun. Pressures to conform to some type of social status, some type of expectation, all the shoulds, when people are shoulding on us all the time, that can be really difficult. And it's another common thread that binds entrepreneurs together. We're getting this pressure from the outside to conform. Let's listen to Thaime and her experience.
One of my most successful businesses, it was when I was like 13 or 14 years old. It was selling donuts. So back home, you could get from the people who make it, and you could go door by door and sell them. And bottom line is, sales were so good that I will have like 5 trays, and I was able to get a spot in the grocery store. And I was selling out all like the weekends. It was great. But during that time, I had just changed schools and I started like a new school. And one of the parents came with one of my classmates and they felt sorry for me because
Mm.
I was working. And I remember feeling so embarrassed. I was so embarrassed because I really didn't need to work. My dad always was like, "Why are you doing this?" But I just loved the hustle, I guess. And, so I quit. I just I came back home that night and I just never went back. And my dad was so upset with me. I think if I would have told my dad would have been like, it's okay. It's not that keep doing your thing, you're doing great." I let the influence of other people or what they thought of me kinda affect that, although I was doing really well.
All right. I hear a couple of really interesting things here and then some challenges that I believe a lot of us can relate to. Tommy didn't make those donuts she was just talking about. She bought them from somewhere else and she was providing value by going places and selling them. She ended up getting it distributed in a store, not because she was the maker of them, because she found a way to provide value. There was a gap between the person who was making those donuts, wherever that was, and actually getting it into the hands of consumers. Remember, opportunities and problems that you can solve and opportunities that are out there are spots where you can make money, where you can add value. Now, I can deeply empathize with where Time is coming when someone says, why are you, I feel sorry for you because why are you out there doing that? My brother and I launched a game store when we were both still in high school. And some of that same feedback was there. What are you thinking? That's crazy. You got all these other responsibilities, all the shoulds that you should be doing. This is part of why I encourage everyone. You have to surround yourself with support. You have to surround yourself with support that understands being a small business owner, being an entrepreneur, having feeling that itch and wanting to fulfill that challenge because a lot of people don't understand it. Taime did it because she loved it, because she enjoyed it. She really got an energy out of doing the experience. And so I want to ask you, are you getting the energy out of it? And do you have the support surrounding you in order to be successful? This is not a solo journey. We cannot do it alone. That's the whole reason we started the podcast. I want all the listeners out there, all the small business owners to see and to understand that we have to surround ourselves with like minded individuals to help us grow and help us succeed. Okay, we're going to hear coming up that Taime is about to have a very significant life change experience. She's going to talk about her move from Venezuela to the United States. It's a different culture, different primary language. and a variety of challenges that are going to come associated with that, along with others. So let's listen as she describes her transition.
But then, yeah, then I moved here. My mother had moved here, so I came to visit, and then I chose to stay. But my mom had different expectations. She wanted me to get a degree, get a corporate job. And, at that time I was just going through so much, trying to adjust to the new culture, trying to learn the language, also trying to meet my mother's expectations, which I'm thankful for, right? But I just followed in that path. I first got a degree in marketing, and then I continue with an accounting degree. Obviously, when I got here, I had to start again from the bottom. So I was working in sales, like selling perfumes. Then from there, I went into the banking industry. And once I had my accounting degree, that's when I was able to move into more of the corporate finance jobs.
Never ever minimize what it took for you to get where you're at today. It may feel like that job was just sort of a one-off thing. My experience that I had, that run in, I started it, I did it, I shifted. I'm not even in the same industry. I'm not pursuing the same thing that I got any education for. All of those pieces really feed into making us who we are today and are going to make us successful entrepreneurs and small business owners. So that's a piece I want you to grasp onto. Not all of us are going to have the challenge of having to change country and experience some of those new pieces, but we're all going to face some type of challenge and we're all going to have some changes. I have not met one person yet who's had their life mapped out to the degree that everything works out exactly as they envision. That's really important to know. All those pieces are going to come in order to be successful for you. To the degree that we can figure out how to overcome challenges, that's really where we distinguish ourselves. And sometimes that becomes one of the unique pieces that make us stand out. That's why I think Thaime's story is both humbling, encouraging, and powerful. Let's listen as she talks about some of the experiences she got out of her corporate jobs that will later play a very important role as she's starting to go into business.
But what happened during that time is that I realized that the more I moved up the ladder, the less time I had for me. Like the more I belonged to the job I was doing. So yes, the pay was great. The benefits were amazing. Everything was exceeding my expectations. I had mentors that were also guiding me through the whole corporate life, right? But then I realized that I really didn't have time for myself. My vacations, I was forced to take vacation because I will lose it, right? And my worry was like, well, if I go on vacation, I'm going to have all this work when I come back. And it was just something that it just didn't make sense. My days were longer. If my family came, I was very limited spending time with them. I even questioned, can I have a family? Because one of the things for me to have children was I want to be involved in my children's life. They have something in school or even their first years. I want to be there with them. Maybe not full time, but have the flexibility, right, to spend time with them. And that seemed like that was not possible. So that's when I started questioning it. I was like, did I do the right thing?
Wow. Who's told some of these stories to themselves before? We're pursuing going down a path because we think it's going to be what will be successful for us, but it starts dominating more and more of our time. When our jobs dominate so much of our time that we have to question what we're going to do outside our job, whether we can even have a family, when and how to take vacation, those type of things for some folks are absolutely fine. That is just how they would like it. But for others of us, we want more control over our time. We want some of that freedom to be able to indicate it's my time and my energy, and I want to put it where we want. This is a theme the Milwaukee Small Business Coach sees across so many small business owners. When we look at your time, talent, and treasure, we want to control what happens. And where we're making trade-offs oftentimes is, oh, it's just a little more money. Oh, but here's where I get benefits. Look, there's a lot of ways actually to get access to benefits, some of which may be more affordable than what you're paying at a corporate job. You need to ask yourself, though, is that fulfilling what your purpose is? For some people, it is. For a lot of people, it's actually going to be, and that's okay. But for many of us who have that more small business bent, we're going to look at like, no, it is worth a lot just to have control of my time back, to be able to spend the time with my kids that I want to be able to vacation the way I want to. to not have people tell me how I need to spend my time, my energy, my talent, my expertise, and all my experience that I develop. So make sure you're keeping that in mind as you're counting the costs. These benefits come along with them, and they're really super critical. And I don't think they're talked about enough. So, based on everything that Thaime has just laid out, let's listen to what she does next.
So I think the universe, when you really want something, works to help you towards that if you really want it. Because what's funny is that as I'm starting to question myself, they actually closed the center when I was working, and they moved that business center to Europe. So that's when I took a step back and it was like, oh my gosh, is, the universe trying to tell me something? And I said, okay, let me really look at my options and what I can do. Like, should I then continue this path or should I try something new and see what happens? And when I asked that question, I realized that an accountant always will have a job, meaning like I could always then start my own bookkeeping or tax accounting or whatever. So I was like, okay, this is low risk. So I assessed the risk of like, okay, what would this look like if I do make the move? So I said, okay, I don't want to just guess. And it worked out perfectly.
Have you ever felt like it's fate, fortune, luck, or chance? Some people will say the universe is out there making it happen. I believe that God has a plan. There are times when everything seems to align that this is the right opportunity to move forward. I imagine that as a small business owner and entrepreneur, even the reason you're going down this path is because you've already experienced that and you already see it. So I want to encourage you, don't miss those signs. There is a plan. And if you step into them, you'll find that things work out in a different way, perhaps than you expected, but they end up working out in a way that is successful for you. So don't let the idea of status quo keep you down. Know that there's a plan out there for you and know that when you step into it, you're actually following the path that you need to be on. I think that's so critical. I think it's a part we are not left, I believe, to just the whims and attitudes of how life goes on. I think there's a plan out there for me. I think it's there for you. And I think as small business owners, we see it and experience it in a way that's uniquely different than our other friends and family members. Switching gears a little bit, almost every entrepreneur I talk with longs for that briefcase of money. Where's that briefcase of money that's going to show up on my porch and make everything okay? And as you've heard me say before on this podcast, and if you've seen me elsewhere as Milwaukee Small Business Coach, there is no small briefcase of money. So we got to figure out some other ways to get our business going, to get our businesses funded. And we're going to look at bootstrapping. We're going to maybe look at friends and family. We're going to look at non-traditional financing. Follow Thaime's path here as she walks through how she got funded on a variety of different ventures to be able to make it successful for her.
Here's the thing. For commercial property, you need 20% down of the price of what you're purchasing. And obviously we were not looking for commercial and we were like, oh, shoot, we're a little short for the down payment. So then we reach out to family members, we borrow for the down payment. And once we have the down payment, we got the loan for the property. So then with the rest of the savings that we had, we worked on getting the house ready to go. And yeah, that took us about 9 months. And we said, okay, let's do our business. So for that one, we went to 2 different banks and they didn't even call us back. So we were like, okay, how can we bootstrap at this point, But thank goodness there is a local organization here called WIBIC, Wisconsin Women Business Initiative Corporation. And they work with non-traditional loans and, with smaller projects as well. And we submitted our business plan and they loved it. It was like a Shark Tank kind of thing. Like they will look at the business plan. Then if they liked it, they will call you in for this interview with all the different people that fund that. So yeah, then I went for that. They interviewed me. I was so nervous, but it went great. And then, yeah, they gave us that money to improve the farmhouse, to do all the stuff and get started, the equipment, the inventory, all of And then, yeah, so we opened doors. And within a year, the next thing we did just to make it all easier on us, we refinanced everything. So the business and the house, and we paid off Webic. And then MADC, they came in then. And they're also similar to Webic, just a little bit bigger, I believe. And then we just combine everything, they make it into one. And now that's who we're working with. From my experience, you just got to push just a little bit harder and then it will come to you.
There are a lot of pieces here to Thaime's story. A piece I really want everyone to grasp onto that's really so important and ends up being a stumbling block for a lot of people. If you want to get financing, we're not talking about buying a house. That's a whole different story. For commercial projects, you're probably going to need at least 20% down. And the way to get that can be challenging. And it took her 9 months to be able to even get that first loan. Entrepreneurship takes persistence. It takes patience. It takes hard work. The planning cycle on that may take longer. There was some savings, I'm sure, going on before that. You're asking friends and family, how can I get access to that money? And are you willing to front that money to us so that we can figure out how to hit that 20% threshold? Thaime said the first 2 banks they talked to were no's. Sometimes you don't even hear back. That's always my favorite. I'm like, at least give me the courtesy of an email back. However, the deal when you're talking about any type of commercial project is you got to talk to a lot of different organizations. You can't stop at the first no. You have to keep going. Now, Thaime ultimately found some additional resources through an organization called WIBIC, which is a community development financial institution. There's a lot of them, MEDC, she mentioned as well. Your area probably has some of these. These organizations are chartered to be able, with funds to be able to lend to quote non-traditional. That usually means I don't have a house or a piece of real estate or an asset of significant value that I can collateralize against. Or sometimes it can be credit score issues. But honestly, the biggest one tends to be the collateral item. I thought it was really interesting in Thaime's story. She's not mentioning a traditional bank or credit union in getting her financing. So keep your eyes open for a variety of alternatives that are out there. But know that it's hard. Know that your numbers have to match your story. That's something we work on a lot at Milwaukee Small Business Coach. Your story has to match up. When you show us your numbers, it tells me a story. When you tell me your verbal story, when they don't line up, bankers are going to see the same thing. And that's going to get you to a no. So once you can get all those pieces in place, there is an opportunity, but you got to have the persistence and you got to give yourself that time. If you want to talk more about financing situations specifically for your business, you can definitely find more out from us at mkebusinesscoach.com. Check out some of our insights there or reach out to us directly and let's talk and see how we can support you. Well, just like you, I can't do this myself. I've had a lot of people pouring into me in order to make this successful. And I specifically want to highlight 2 people, Chris Crean for doing our music, both in our intro and our outro, and Kate Halfwasson for doing a lot of the editing to make this podcast come to reality. We've got a lot of other content out there. If you're interested, you can find it at mkebusinesscoach.com. If you want to listen to the full interview with Thaime, you can find it out on our YouTube channel. If you like what you're hearing here, I want to encourage you to please like it, subscribe, and share with anyone who's out there that needs to hear this message. Now, I want to invite Chris Crean to go ahead and take us out. So again, thank you for joining me on this episode of Entrepreneur Encounters. I'm Brent Halfwasson, Milwaukee Small Business Coach, and I want to invite Chris to take us out. Ready to take